Good.
That's so fancy.
I know. I don't think it really does much, but it is fancy. So let's look at these. While you guys are looking, I'm going to pop up my calculator because I think I need it. Okay. Looking at these, so remember what ends up happening is like these are your basically show up. And you can't get any more, can't get anything bigger. But you want to get all of them so that theta is in that domain. So in some cases, you're going to find the coterminal angles and go from there, okay? So that's where that's going on. And then sometimes you only get one because that other one is not within the domain, okay? Or it could just be one answer. That one might be one of your just one answer ones. Any questions on those four?
Can you grab another book for me?
Yes. That's a -4. Okay, so first thing you want to do is get to where you have something on the unit circle. Okay, so what do we have? We can divide by -2. That's square root of 2 over 2. Okay, so sine of what, basically, when we're dealing with radians, is square root of 2 over 2. So yeah, you got your first quadrant is pi over 4. And then what, second quadrant is positive? So what is that? 3 pi over 4. Okay, so any questions getting that part? That was basically that first worksheet where we did basic trig equations. Okay, so what I have though is this question mark is the same as this -4 theta. -4 times theta. Okay. And then from here, we're going to solve for theta. Now we have to keep in mind that negative angles mean we have to go down, which is the same as a positive. One of these, that's what we're going to get here. So let's look at that first before moving on. Okay, so clear. So I have 1/4 pi, and I'm just going to keep pi out of it for now, divided by -4. So math, enter. All right, so that's -1/16. So how can I make that positive? Okay, yeah, you're going to add 2. Because what it's going to do is, if you add 2, you're going to go all the way around 360 degrees, or 2 pi, and end up at the same spot, positively. So that is 31 pi over 60. We get that from this one. Okay. And let's look at our other one. So 3/4 times, nope, divided by, I was going to say times, but divided by -4. So we get -3 over 16, which again is negative. So I've gone clockwise, but I need that coterminal angle that's clockwise, and I do that by going all the way around and coming back to it. Okay? So I'm going to add 2 pi. So that's 29 pi over 16. All right, so that's only those 2 right there. Okay? So what you have to do is check the coterminal angles for this. Okay? And what ended up happening when you check is it either gives you the same answer again, or it's an answer outside the domain, or you get another answer. Okay, so in this case, when we find it, we're going to be getting more answers. All right, so how do we get a coterminal angle? So right now, we have pi fourths again and 3 pi fourths. Now what I did when I would work on it, because I had to work on it too, because I hadn't done this in a while, was I realized I was going to be dividing by a negative, and I didn't want to keep doing the same thing over where I had to add and add. So how can I find a coterminal angle and make it negative, so when I divide by the negative, it's positive? You subtract 2 instead of adding. So I'm going to subtract 2 pi to get an answer. So we're going to say 1/4 subtract 2. Okay, so that's going to give me a negative, so that when I divide by a negative, it's going to give me a positive. So that's 7 pi over 16. Okay, so I'm going to add that to the list. I'm going to add it to the list right here for the moment, because that's where it came from, essentially. So any questions there? Okay, I'm going to just do it again and again and again. So from here, again, to get a negative, I'm going to subtract. So then I do 3/4 minus 2 gives me a negative, which I don't have to necessarily go math inner right now. I could just keep going and divide by -4, but I just still want to show you guys the fractions. Okay, so that's going to give me -5 pi over 4. I shouldn't have done that over here. Is that the -7 pi over 4? Sorry, I'm going back to make sure I have this. That's going to give me that one. Okay. What do I get? -5 pi over 4. Okay, and then to get that over there, I'm going to say divided by -4. That's 5 pi over 16. Okay, so that gave me a couple more. What did that give me? These two? So now these two and these two. And then looks like I'll be finding a couple more. Okay? So I'm just going to do it again from right there. Okay? So I'm going to keep it positive, plus if I add 2 pi, I'm just going to end up back at pi fourths. So I'm going to just subtract 2 again. Let's do it again. So I don't know about you when you guys were at home, but when I was at home, it just was like calculator work the whole time. So there's that. So math, enter, enter. So -15 pi over 4. So we need to do that to get my answer. So what do I do? Divide by -4. So 15 pi over 16. So that came from my pi fourths. So that's there. I know there's a lot of arrows. I'm just kind of trying to show you guys where everything's coming from. So what's the next one? -5/4 minus 2 to get a coterminal angle first. Okay. And then what will that do? I'm running out of space to keep writing this. So that should give me +13/16 coming from the 3 pi over 4, the coterminal angle for that. And then, as we know, because we have the answer up here, we just have 2 more to do. And we're just going to subtract 2 one more time. And you just keep doing it. So do I really have to do the last 2 for you? It's just the same thing again and again and again. Okay? But that's how you do it. Now, you don't have the answers at home, okay, to look and see if you keep going. So what I did too, when I did it at home, I did have the answers, but I hid it and just checked. And what ended up happening is, if it did not have those coterminal angles, if you just keep going, they'll repeat, okay? Or again, they'll repeat or they'll get outside that domain. So any questions on those 4? Okay. The next ones, sorry, where are we at? 16, okay, that should be your next 4. Check those back in degrees. Do I need to make them a little bigger? Let me make them a little bigger. So any questions on those 4? 18? Yes. Alright, so first thing we need to do is get cosine by itself and see what we can get from there. So we're going to add 5, which would be looks like negative 1/5. Okay, and then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is going to give me negative 1/2. All right, so we're looking at x being negative 1/2. So that would be what? So we'd have, and we're in degrees. So let me write it how I wrote earlier. Cosine of what is negative 1/2. So those 2 things would be 90 plus, it would be 120. And 240. Okay. So any questions there? All right, so what we have now then is to replace that question mark with the pi, or the theta plus 1/8. So subtract 180. So we have 120, subtract 180. All right, so I have a negative angle. So what would that be as a positive angle? How do I figure that out? What do I add? 360. So that gives me 300. Okay? And then let's see, 240 minus 180 is 60 degrees. Okay? Any questions there? Now let's check for coterminal angles. Alright, so I have 120 originally. How do I find a coterminal angle with degrees? What am I adding or subtracting? 360, everything's positive, so I'm going to stick with plus 360 equals, okay, subtract 180. Okay, see how it repeats? So it's 300, we already got 300 from last time. Okay, and then 240 plus 360. Okay, subtract 180. And then that's outside our domain. So that's what happens if you keep trying, and it'll, again, either repeat or get outside that domain. Any questions on that one? Any other ones up here? Yes. 17? Yes. Okay. What do? We need to subtract 5. Okay, divide by -2. So that gives me 1/2. So where is sine equal to 1/2? So where is your y equal to 1/2? So that would be, where are we still in degrees? Yeah, 30 degrees. And then 100. Okay? So what do I need to put now? So -3 theta. So let's divide by -3. So 30 divided by -3 gives me -10, but we don't want that. We want positive. So that will give us 350. Okay. So then 150 divided by -3 gives me 50, but we don't want -50, we want 310. Okay, so those are really close together, and plus I'm going to keep checking anyways. Okay, now because I'm going to be dividing by -3, should I add 360 or subtract 360? What would take off less work? Subtract. If I subtract 360, I'm going to be getting negative degrees, and dividing by a negative gives me positive. Does that make sense? So, starting with 30. 30 minus 360, that's -330. And then I'm always going to divide by -3. So now I have 110. Okay, so what did that give me? -330. So -330 plus, not plus, minus 360. Okay, divided by -3. That's 230. And then what's that? -690. Subtract 360 again. Divided by -3. 350. Have I gotten that yet? And I got that. That's repeat. Okay. So, any questions there? Let's go to the next one and try it. So 150 minus 360 divided by negative 3. That's 70. Okay, so 150 minus 360. So my next coterminal would be negative 210 minus 360 divided by negative 3. That's 190. I think that's it, but let's check one more. So it was negative 570. Subtract to get a coterminal angle. Divided by negative 3. And then that's starting to repeat again. Okay? So any questions? So it's a lot of either adding 360, subtracting 360, or if we're in radians, adding 2 pi, subtracting 2 pi. It's a lot of them. So any other questions on these four? Okay. Let's go to the next. Back to radians. So it was more of the same, just 1 or 2 extra steps maybe. That was the last four also. The same, just extra steps.
They're not like super hard, it's just time consuming checking to make sure you've gotten all the angles.
I know, but once you got into rhythm, it wasn't that bad. It only took me probably 30, 45 minutes to get in the rhythm, to get it going. To do the whole page front and back. But yeah, not too bad. You're gonna hear me that a lot. I'm gonna be doing homework with you guys because, again, I haven't had this since I'm 2 Hello? She was in her room, and then, hold on, I'm gonna do it. All right, any questions on these four? Okay. Now let's see, I did improper fractions for 28. Let me show you what I got. Where are we at, 28? So just in case you did improper fractions, I got because I don't know why they would do mixed numbers, but
What would you rather us do? Because I put mine in decimal.
when it comes to these, probably whatever. When it comes to these, honestly, decimal is fine. Because I mean, we're talking about degrees, so probably decimal would be better. I just left improper fraction because that's what my calculator did, and I was just gonna leave it. So it doesn't matter either way of these. So any questions on these ones?
Could you do 26?
Mm-hmm. All right, so 26. So again, just like the rest, it's just getting the cosine by itself. Okay, so we gotta subtract 4. So when we subtract 4, that ends up being 20. So that goes. Okay, and then multiply by the reciprocal, so that's negative 5/2. Okay, so those go. What are we? We're in degrees. Cosine. Alright, so where is cosine equal to negative square root of 2 over 2? Okay, so that's going to be in your second quadrant and in your third quadrant at the 45-degree reference angle. Okay, so that would be, I don't want to put that yet. 135 and, what, 225? Okay, and then what I'm going to do for that is, because this whole thing is going to replace that, I'm going to say negative 3 theta plus 270. So any questions there? Now it's calculator time. So let's clear what we had up there. So it's 135 minus 270, and then divided by negative 3. So that gave me 45. $225 minus 270 divided by okay, so those are pretty small. So we gotta keep looking. So what am I doing? 26? I just want to make sure I'm on the right track. Yep, that's what I got so far. Alright, so 135. We got that minus 270. So which would be quicker? Minusing 360 or adding 360? I think I'm gonna subtract this. I'm gonna add 360 and see what happens. Subtract 270 divided by negative 3. So I should have subtracted. Then I would end up with negatives. But that's okay, because a negative is just the same as 285. Okay. What is that? 495. I'm just gonna keep going. Plus 360 with the plussing, even though it would have been better to subtract. But now I'm at 855. All right, so that's the coterminal angle for 135 by 360, 360. Now let's go through the formula. So minus 270, okay, divided by negative 3. Oops. 3. Okay, so that's negative 195. That's okay, because I can find out what it is by adding 360. And that gives me 165. What was my last? 855. So 855 plus 360 That's my coterminal angle, so that's where I'm going to subtract 270 and then divide by -3. Okay, then add 360. 45. So back at the beginning, 45. So any questions there? Okay. And then let's go to 225. From 225, I'm going to subtract 360 this time. Maybe that'll save me time. Okay, then subtract 270 divided by -3. So that's 135. -135 subtract 360 minus 270 divided by -3. 255. And then that ends up being all of them. If I do it again, I'll just repeat. So any questions on that? And then our last one. Which I'm going to let you guys do those by yourself. To make sure that you guys got them. In case you need extra help doing them. Try it on your own. See how you do. Any questions on these? All right, let's turn that in. When you're finished. And then we're going to get out the homework, which is the same stuff, just everything is a reciprocal this time. So, any questions on these? You guys got the answers? Okay, so before I go on, let me actually see who actually did the next page. Okay, so if I put answers up, it's not you guys actually know. And then I'll do that. Alright, here's secant, cosecant, and cotangent. So here's your first four. Yes. Like, you know, people, when you're at home, you'll probably be getting answers. And that's fine. Just make sure when you turn in, there's work. Okay? Because it'll always be work. So any questions on these first four? Any questions? All right. It did take a few seconds longer to really flip stuff in my mind, actually. I don't know about you guys.
You go this car.
Okay, so we want secant by itself, so divide by 12. And that reduces to 2 square root of 3 over 3. Okay, so we're looking for where is secant equal to that? So no extra work or anything, we just got to figure out where secant is equal to that. So let's first remember that cosine is x, and this will be the reciprocal, which is 1 over x. Okay, so it's that flipped. All right, so let's look at our options. That would probably be either square root of 3 over 2 flipped, of course negative, or probably what it would be. So let's look at that flipped. Okay, so let's flip it. What's the problem with it flipped? Radical on the bottom, so we have to rationalize. So what that will give me is 2 square root of 3 over 3. So that is what I have. Of course, we want the negative version. Okay, so what I'm looking for is where is my x, negative square root of 3 over 2. That's what I'm looking for. In, what are we doing? Gradients. All right, so where is, that's going to be negative in quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. So that would be 5 pi, 6, and then 6 by 6, so 7 by 6. All right, good. So you're just having to find the flipped version of stuff. Okay. So any other questions on that? All right. So 9, 10. I think some of these know solutions where they were giving you what perhaps their reciprocal would be. And of course, that can't work, so it's no solution.
For number 9, can you have 0 and 180?
I have it, and I don't know why they don't have it. So, yeah, I don't know. Because 0 is included in the answer. So yeah, that's a good question. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the software. But yeah, I have it on mine as well. Wait, what do I have on mine? No, I guess it won't work. Because actually, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Because cotangent equal to 0 is at 90 degrees and 270 degrees. So if you multiply by 2, you get 180 with the 90. Here, I'll write it down. And then the other one is 270 times 2, which will be out of your domain. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong piece. Well, I did not have that. What's this, 9?
Yeah.
Okay, so where is that equal to 0? Well, it is equal to 0 at 90 degrees and at 270 degrees. Okay, so when we multiply by 2 over here, we get 180. And then when we multiply by 2 over here, we get 540, which is not in our domain. That's too big. So that's why it isn't it. Answers. And then these four. Any questions on these four? Good. Okay, and then are these the last ones? Good. We're getting close though. Any questions on these four with the radians? Just adding a few more steps. Okay. Everybody good? Any questions? All right. Next ones. Again, just probably a couple extra steps. 2 steps now inside the angle. I'll put those improper fractions, and then you guys 18.75, 48.75 if you guys have it in decimal. Anyway, it really doesn't matter because it doesn't happen often anyways. They're not very pretty as improper fractions. Okay, any questions on these four? Okay, and then this should be your last full one. And last one. Let me make it a little bigger. Now, no solution, even though you have the answer, show me that there is no solution. There is work to be done. And any questions on these four? Okay. Alright, so next time I see you, you will be taking a quiz over everything. I'm going to pull it up here in just a minute. And show you, so we got your solving right triangles. You have solving right triangles. You have law of sines, law of cosines. And then solving trig equations. That's all on the quiz. And here, I'll pull it up and show you. Hold on, I'm just fixing something real quick on it. I was going to try to fit it in today, but we had to go over this. So those at home, you guys have it tomorrow. I'll send a message out through Google Classroom so everybody will get it. Okay. These are not your test, your quiz, but this is what your quiz looks like. So you have solving the triangle. So that's just your right triangles. Okay. And then here we have law of sines. So first finding missing side, missing angle, solve the whole triangle, and then you have your ambiguous case. Okay, so you have to say if it's 1, 2, or none.
Could you possibly go over that really quick, just like finding out if it's 1 or 2 or none?
Yes, hold on 1 second. I just want to make sure I have time to go over the whole thing and I'll come back, okay? And if not, there is video of going over that. There's video of all of it. Okay, so law of cosines, then we have, again, finding the missing side, missing angle, is that right? Sorry. So there's the video of that, where I talked about it. Solving the triangle, find the area, Heron's formula, and then what we just went over is the next part, okay? I do, yes. If you have law of cosines done, I want it, or the cosecant, secant, and cotangent. If you have that done, turn it in. If you don't, turn it in next time I see you. Okay? No, what's going to happen is I'm going to put a video up tomorrow. Well, maybe not. They'll be doing a quiz. They have time after the quiz. But every day is going to be a new lesson.